Burlesque Stripped Down, episode number 41. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is, of course, Velvet Eau Claire, your guide through all of the behind-the-scenes, sexy, sultry, sometimes not quite as sexy as one might hope, all of those secrets of us, the ladies and gents behind the tassels. I am very excited today to bring you an interview with the Liverpool lass herself, Miss Millie Dollar. Now, I first heard about Millie in the Burlesque Big Sister, Big Brother Facebook group, where she was actually mentioning a talk that she was going to be giving regarding burlesque and mental health. And I just found it to be a very interesting topic, and so I got in touch with her. And then over the few months, as we tried to get some scheduling worked out, I just was more and more impressed with some of the feedback that she was giving on other people's posts and the discussions that she was starting in that Facebook group itself. So I was really excited when we finally found a time that worked, and I'm very, very happy to be bringing her interview with you here today. Also, later this week, I will be giving you more of a deep dive. In her Hot Tip episode, we talk a lot more deeply about the idea of mental health and burlesque. So definitely tune back in for that. It's a really, really important conversation to be having, to be continuing to have, and we would love to hear your feedback on that episode as well. Before I launch into the episode, I do want to thank you all for listening. We did actually recently pass 5,000 downloads on this podcast, so I am very, very grateful for that. I would love to keep that number growing. My next milestone is 10,000, which will be a huge, very, very exciting day. So please do, if you are a first-time listener listening to hear Millie's great story, please think about subscribing in your favorite podcast player app if you don't have one of those. If you're an iPhone user, it is built into your phone. If you're an Android user like myself, my personal favorite is Player FM, but there's a bunch of different ones. You can find us also on places like Stitcher, as well as Google, the new Google Podcast app, I think they have, or at least on Google Music, we are there as well. So definitely, if you like what we're doing today, subscribe. You can hear all of our old episodes as well as the new ones as they're released every week. Definitely as well share with your friends if you like what we're talking about. We're hoping to get in front of as many ears as possible and kind of get the word out there. We'd love to hear from as many different people from around the world as possible. So I really appreciate your help with that. And I also, of course, as always, welcome any feedback you have on the podcast itself, velvet@burlesquestripdown.com. But enough about all of that. I really want to get into Miss Millie Dollar. She is awesome. She, as she says on her website, she epitomizes the golden era of bump and grind. She puts the sex back into burlesque. She sets stages, hearts, and souls on fire, and she is an internationally acclaimed burlesque star. But she is really so much more than those things because she is an amazing person to talk to. She has some really great insights from over a decade of performance and is truly an authentic, genuine person that I just really, really enjoyed talking to. So without further ado, here is my interview with Miss Millie Dollar. You got that right, ladies and gentlemen. I do have the fabulous, the beautiful, and the talented Millie Dollar here with me today. I am so excited. I've been kind of, okay, maybe a little bit of Facebook stalking, especially in our Burlesque Big Sister, Big Brother Facebook group, because I just think Millie has some amazing, amazing things to say. She comes to us out of, as she puts it, the back streets of Liverpool. So I am really excited to dive into Millie's story and her advice for you today. Welcome, Millie. How are you doing?
Hi, I'm very well, thank you. I started out on the back streets of Liverpool, but I seem to have now, gone off in the world. Nice little flat near the park. Actually, what? Over the road from where I was born, so that's kind of weird. But yeah, been around the world and then come back to pretty much the exact same point.
That's too funny. But you get to travel a lot, I assume, with your career.
Yeah, I've been all over the place, but it gets to that point where, when people ask you, so where have you performed? Where have you been? And you start to feel a bit of a twat just listing all these places. The point where you're just like, I've been around,
Yeah, let me tell you where I haven't been. Maybe that's easy.
But then it's because as soon as you mentioned that you go to America or around Europe, everyone's like, oh, wow, where? Oh, well, there's how many countries in Europe?
Oh, yeah.
This might take a while. I mean, there's one less now, unfortunately, but
Yeah. Yeah. What is going on? We don't even need to get into that. My mind
there's
is blown.
too many politics there,
Exactly. That's dangerous territory,
Yeah.
I think. But so clearly you've been performing for a while. Why don't you tell us just a little bit, give us a kind of quick recap of your life, your story, just for those who might not be familiar with you.
Okay, well, I started performing about 10 years ago. So when I started out, that I didn't really know any other performers, really. There wasn't as big a scene in the UK. It was still very much a new thing here. So a lot of my sort of inspiration and my reasoning for getting into burlesque was from the American neo-burlesque scene. So when I did start performing, I probably wasn't great because I hadn't had any lessons and I didn't have anyone to help tell me what to do and what not to do. Mm-hmm. So I kind of had to grow from there a bit and really work hard to get to a point of being semi-decent, which I've been living off for a few years now. So that's doing semi-decent, semi-well.
There you go.
So I've gone from performing in little dive bars in Liverpool, dancing with surf bands, which is always great fun, and I still love to do that whenever I can.
Sure.
So now traveling all about the place, just doing all sorts of weird and crazy, wonderful things.
Oh, fantastic. I love it. So what do you have? You have a lot of things that you've been doing over the years. What do you have going on right now that you're the most excited about?
Well, right now, I am, since 2007, I've been producing shows. I've been producing my own show called The Martini Lounge, but I've also been producing a show called Burlesque, and this is an all-deaf and disability arts cabaret burlesque show.
Oh, wow.
And this year we're bringing it back with not one but 2 nights of the show, with the second one being Burlesque from Biscuitland. This will be featuring Jess Tom, who is also known as Tourette's Hero. Who, if you haven't seen her stuff, look her up on YouTube, on Facebook, Twitter. She has about 6,000 different tics a day, and ranging from the most very, very surreal kind of thing. Like my favorite of hers was your mother gave a P45 to a lemongrass plant.
All right.
Very out there, things like that. So she is going to be comparing a burlesque and cabaret show.
That is so cool.
So we have no idea, including her, what's going to be said.
It keeps it interesting.
Absolutely an amazing show because she is a brilliant talent. Plus we have some amazing performers that I've been dying to have on for years and years, like Doris Latrine, who does handstands on a gold toilet. Which is like a personal monologue piece. And Ed Muir, who is an amazing Chinese pole artist, and also, luckily for me, my husband, so I get good rates.
There you go. I love it. So and when is that show happening?
It's happening on the 19th and the 20th of November this year, and it's part of Dada Fest, which is a deaf and disability arts festival, which goes on for 2 weeks every 2 years here in Liverpool.
In Liverpool, excellent.
Yeah, I'm actually one of the. I'm a assistant festival producer of Dada Fest. So when I'm not stripping, I'm working with them to create some absolutely amazing events, and it's been really exciting to see how it all comes together.
Fantastic. That's great. I'm looking forward to, I probably won't be able to make it across the pond for that, but I'm looking forward to seeing some things all over Facebook and everything about it.
I'm sure there's going to be photos.
There must be. It is burlesque after our cabaret, after all. And the Martini Lounge show that you produce as well, is that a monthly or weekly? It's
been every few months. So it's changed quite a lot. Because I started it back in 2007. And we've grown from venue to venue, but we've had a bit of a year break. So we are making our plans for a comeback very soon. We've got some really exciting things in the work, which sadly I cannot reveal just as of yet. But
okay, we understand. There might be, some top secret projects happening.
We might be changing the show from your regular burlesque cabaret show into somewhat more of a story. So
Well, I look forward to hearing about
yeah,
that.
I even have a director on board, and it's going to be amazing. So I'm very
Good.
excited.
Very good. I love when we, I mean, I love, don't get me wrong, I love a classic type cabaret and burlesque show, but I also love when people kind of can, meld things, whether it's melding the script and the scripted theater aspect or bring in technology or, different things like that. It's great.
Yeah, because the scene, it has changed so much and grown so much here just in the UK in the past 10 years. It's grown all over the world. But it's getting to that time now where people are getting a lot more experimental and things are really changing very, very quickly. And it's quite an exciting time to be involved.
It really is. Yay. So tell us a little bit. I mean, you mentioned you've been performing for over 10 years now. Let's go back to the beginning and tell us a little bit about how you got started. I mean, was there a particular moment or a performance that you saw that made you just kind of know that burlesque was something you wanted to pursue?
Well, it's a bit weird from when I started, because when I first actually kind of started practicing burlesque routines, not really knowing what it was I was doing, I was probably about 13. And I would remember like being in my room and practicing some strip teasers. And
That's funny.
I remember one time my mum had found a vintage pair of 40s stilettos with a metal tip on the heel. And I was doing this very elaborate striptease in my bedroom at the age of maybe 13, 14. I did a move where I kicked my leg up, but sadly the heel came off, flipped, and then got me right in the forehead, and that left a lovely scar. So not only was I stripteasing young, I was also getting injuries from stripteasing young.
There you go.
Yeah, but I grew up on watching a lot of musicals and a lot of those big song and dance numbers, and I realised that it was just too late for me to be Betty Grable. So anything that I could do that meant a stage, elaborate costumes, and dancing around, I was pretty much up for.
And then what kind of, what was it that made you start kind of performing on stage as opposed to just in your bedroom? Was it just really a gradual progression like that?
Yeah, well, when I found out that it was a whole thing, a whole scene, a whole movement, I researched absolutely everything I could. And even to this day, I say research is such an important thing for anyone who wants to be a performer. So knowing the history, knowing all those weird little stories from backstages in 1930s, 40s, 50s, but just realizing like where it came from and how it became such a thing. And from there, I just absolutely fell in love with the whole idea, the whole history, the whole movement. And when I kind of started in the UK, there wasn't the feminist burlesque movement really taking shape as much. So I do remember when I first started performing shows, there was a group of feminists in Liverpool who were planning to protest my show.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, which was sad, but luckily one of my friends was involved in the group and turned around to them and told them what it was all about from everything that I had told her. So she mentioned that it was empowering and it was embracing femininity and sexuality, but in a self-controlled kind of a way. And I think a lot of them actually attended the show in the end because they loved the sound of all of that, because I've always been quite out there feminist type, which really pisses me off to this day when people say, well, what does your husband think when you get on stage? I'm like, well, he's probably on after me, so he does the same bloody thing.
Did you meet through the kind of the cabaret burlesque world, or?
Yeah, we met God knows how many years ago. It probably would have been like 9 years ago or something. But we never spoke to each other. We didn't ever have shows together. We didn't interact until a couple of years ago when we became friends, and then it all developed from there,
Yeah,
you know
absolutely. Sure. And if you don't mind me asking, I mean, so at this point, did the two of you kind of work together, or is it pretty much you have your own separate careers, and if your paths cross, that's great?
We have separate careers, but we do have a lot of people that book us together, which is really nice, and it saves us on hotels, so I'm sure that's
definitely
nice for them. But we do have a double act that we're working on. And I do occasionally assist Ed with his whip routines, which is a vaudeville style whipped routine.
Great.
Where I am the glamorous assistant. But he's also helped me branch out into new areas as well. So he taught me how to use whips. He taught me how to do fire. And then got really annoyed when I proceeded to be better at doing fire than he was.
It's the lady's job.
Yeah. I do it so much better. I've got the mouth for it.
Hey, we've all got our skills.
I didn't think my natural talent would be fire eating, but there you go.
Well, anybody who listens to the podcast knows that I really like to discuss the reality of life as a performer in general, and the good, the bad, and the ugly. And so recently I discovered this kind of acronym. I didn't make it up. I can't take credit for it. But I call it the AFOG, and it stands for Another Fucking Opportunity for Growth, right? And I love the idea behind this. It's this idea that sometimes things go wrong and things get fucked up, and maybe you make a mistake, maybe you're just in a bad situation, whatever the case may be. But the idea is that we reframe it and look at it as an opportunity for growth. And we add that fucking in there because it's just like, man, what the fuck? Another fucking opportunity for growth, right? So taking these bad situations and reframing them. So I'd love to know if you've had any of those moments recently where you've had just this, what you could turn into an AFOG moment.
I'm always kind of grabbing and seizing every opportunity I can, because I always think that you'll never know unless you try. Yeah. So the only things that I would say would be just regrets of thinking, I wish I'd done that show, or I wish I'd gone to Burlesque Hall of Fame sooner, or those kinds of things. As a performer, you're always growing.
Absolutely.
So
I love bringing up the idea of regret, because that's a classic kind of opportunity for growth, right? Like if we have regrets in our lives, there's basically two ways we can go with it. We can either like sink into the regret and just be like sad about it and miserable or whatever, or we can kind of change it up and think of how we can grow from that.
Yeah.
From that.
And I think that the past year or two for me has been an entire 2 years of trying to grow as a person. So I did actually stop performing for about a year. And after, at that point, it would have been 9 years of performing, I had to step away for a while. But that actually was a very positive thing for me to do, because it then meant that I came back rejuvenated and new ideas and pushed myself harder than if I had carried on. So to get that time to reflect on myself and work on me as a person, and then come back to working on myself as a performer, that was an amazing growth opportunity.
Absolutely. An AFOG, another opportunity for growth.
Yeah.
Great. So currently, as a performer or even as a producer, what is your biggest struggle as an artist?
Well, it's been kind of a bit of a lifelong struggle, I guess, but it's something that always has hung over me as a performer, and that is my hearing issues. I am actually a hearing aid wearer, so I wear them on stage. A couple of times I've nearly thrown them out of my ears on stage because I do too much hair work. I was actually born completely deaf. I had 3 operations to get grommets fitted. One in the UK on the 80s NHS, which did not end well. And then the other 2 was luckily when my parents were living in Australia. So I was looked after a lot better there. But as I've grown older, that it's always deteriorating to the point where it's only in the past year or so I've started to wear hearing aids all the time. So it has been kind of at the back of my mind, like, is there going to be a point where I can no longer hear the rhythm, because I'm very much a music-based kind of performer. So I have discussed it with a few other performers. When we had Pearl Noir over here a few months ago, I did speak to her about it as well, and she was incredibly supportive. And she was offering to put me in touch with some of the legends that are still going, even though they've lost their hearing as well. And so I think that for me has been the biggest kind of dark cloud, I guess, over my career, but I'm not going to let it stop me. I'm going to just keep adapting and growing, because that's the best thing to do, is to find new ways. And with the art company I'm involved in, there's a lot of people who are completely deaf and are dancers and choreographers. So
Absolutely.
I know that I've got a great network of people I can utilize and speak to about these things.
Wow. I mean, that's really, I love your approach to that. I mean, that's really wonderful that you can, you acknowledge it, calling it the dark cloud. I mean, it's there and it's a possibility that might, deteriorate in the future, but you've got this network of people supporting you, and you're, reaching out for help from other people outside that particular community as well, like with Pro Noir and some of the other legends. I think that's amazing.
Yeah, well, it can actually be quite handy, because with all the traveling we do, if there's screaming children on the train, I just take my hearing aids out and everything.
Yeah, I suppose sometimes I wish I didn't have to hear everything that was happening around me. That sounds incredibly privileged. I'm sorry, I don't mean it like that. But
it's times where it's like, oh, sweet relief.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it makes me think of, I mean, I'm not sure if you, I know you all over in the UK, you have your own version of Dancing with the Stars, I'm sure, but actually just this last season, I believe.
There as well.
What's that?
I think it's just Dancing with the Stars as well here.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's
the model guy. Who?
Yeah. And I think spoilers, but I think he won. Did he end up winning?
I believe he did. 'Cause I remember seeing some of his stuff when he was on America's Next Top Model. And
okay. Oh, that's right. I forgot he was on that. That's where he was. That's why he was a star. Yeah. Okay.
Well, there was a video that kind of went a bit viral of him explaining how it was to be deaf to some of the other contestants. So I've kind of been aware of him from there.
It was amazing. I don't really watch the show very much, but my mother does. So if I am kind of, hanging out with her, she'll
you're in it for the costumes, don't lie.
It's true. It's the costumes and the whole production. I love when they do the real elaborate numbers and everything. Yeah. So she'll be like, you need to see this number. And especially with him, and pardon me for forgetting his name, but because he was deaf and still like this amazing, amazing dancer. I mean, to me, that was really inspirational, even though I don't at the moment, knock on wood, I don't have hearing problems, but any problems that we have in our lives, any disabilities, whether they're mental or physical, we can work through them. If the fact that he can win a huge ballroom dancing competition and win it on his own merit, not because of any sort of pity votes, So really
one of his routines, and yes.
Yeah, he was good.
Pretty good.
Not too shabby. Good. Well, that's great that you're working through that. I can only imagine how difficult it can be to have that kind of thing hanging over your head. So let's move on to talking about kind of the performances in general. When you're getting ready for a show, what is one of your biggest preparation secrets?
Well, when I'm just about to walk onto the stage, I try and take a bit of time, quiet time, and just practice breathing. Kind of a bit of a meditation type thing, just to psych myself up. Because even now, I still get a bit nervous. I try and deny it, but I do I do get a bit nervous still going on stage. So taking that time out, because backstage is lovely and supportive and friendly and occasionally very, very funny, which is great for calming your nerves when you're getting ready. But when you're just about to go on, you need to get that kind of mindset of going out there and just bloody rocking the thing, I guess.
Yeah. In that instant before you go on stage, do you have different things that you do based on what number you're doing? Like if you're doing like a slower number, do you kind of calm down? Or if it's a more high energy, you kind of hype yourself up? Or is it kind of a standard thing?
It's generally standard, but there is one routine I do, which has become my signature routine called Blue Martini. And it's quite an angry act, really. I created that act after coming back from LA and going through a really difficult life change. Pretty much everything in my life changed. So it was a way of my feelings being expressed. But I found that if I get angry or if I have something that goes wrong in the first act and I'm doing that second, it always goes really well because I get that anger out. So I don't intentionally get out there and try and get angry for no reason or whatever. But if I have just found that if I am, it works.
There you go.
Yeah. And nowadays I can just think about the various things happening in politics, and I'll do the job. I'll be good to go.
Yeah, I think our two countries, we both have that that opportunity, right? We use it to our advantage, I suppose.
I think we both understand. I think it's getting to that point. It's a bit Romeo and Juliet, really. Like we're all of us going to have to run off.
I'm about to that point.
Yeah.
So how about self-care? I mean, I'm a person who believes that self-care is really important in whatever form that takes. So what is your favorite practice for taking care of yourself?
Nowadays, I never used to be, but nowadays I'm quite a healthy eating nut. So I do have an all vegan diet, raw food, low sugar kind of diet, which sounds really boring, but it's actually not too bad. Plus I feel so much better for making that change. But do a lot of things like yoga as well, which is a great way of having some time for yourself. Because when you get busy in the scene, or you're helping other people, or various other things are going on, it's nice to just stop for even just an hour and just be in a nice, quiet, reflective space.
Absolutely.
Because I've been quite open about various mental health issues I've gone through in the past, which has kind of led to me being a bit like the camp counselor of burlesque in the UK. So I get a lot of people coming to me with various issues or things they're going through, but just because they know that I've been so open about these things that they can speak to me, and they know that I'll give them a straight answer. So that has actually been quite nice to feel that not only have I got to the point that I have been able to start helping myself, but I'm able to help so many other people.
Absolutely. That's what we can do as human beings, right? As we take care of ourselves, of course, that's probably primarily important. I mean, just because if, you don't look out for yourself first, nobody else will.
Yeah,
and,
true.
If you can't, it's just like on the airplanes when they say affix your own mask first, because then otherwise you won't be able to help anybody else.
Yeah. Well, it's only after I had the year off and got better and came back that I was actually able to really help other people. Because you do need to look after yourself first. Otherwise, you're not going to be as able for others. So it has made a huge change to be open about these things, because I don't believe personally that mental health is the taboo that people seem to think it is. It's very much a undiscussed, hidden thing that most people are secretly going through, and so the main thing about self-care is being able to admit not only to yourself, but when you do need help, you need to be able to talk to others.
Absolutely. And I mean, actually, that's a perfect kind of transition, so to speak, into kind of a newer section that I've been doing called Controversy Corner, right? Where we kind of talk about something that is, often controversial in this kind of performance world, the cabaret, burlesque, all of that, or even creative community. And I thought it would be really interesting to talk, maybe it's not quite so controversial, but more of just having like this discussion around, because that's, that was one of the first posts I ever saw from you, was talking about your seminar, I think, or a workshop on burlesque and mental health. And so I'd love to, hear what you have to say about the idea of having this mental health. And I love that, you talk about taking a break and taking that time for yourself. So I have quite a few questions kind of along that, but I'd love to just kind of start with just like your general thoughts. You mentioned how it has this stigma that it doesn't need to have. So do you want to elaborate on that at all?
Well, it's quite well known that a lot of people who do choose to perform, and not just in this scene, but actors, comedians, writers, a lot of people that are very expressive and very out there are secretly going through various different mental health issues. I think it's quite well documented, it's quite well known that it is a very common thing, but as burlesque performers, we generally put out this very, very shiny, very, very polished versions of ourselves all the time. So I know that people have struggled with trying to stay in character, but also these days with a lot of social media stuff, there's always these, people saying how well they're doing, and it makes other people feel bad, or there's this very strange mix, because I know a lot of people that are going through the same issues or have had the same problems as me, and I've spoke to quite a lot of other performers about it, and they found that it does help to be a bit more open with it.
So where do you think that that balance is between, because I've been listening, I mean, again, people who listen to the podcast know how obsessed I am with Brene Brown. Are you familiar with Brene Brown?
No, I don't think I am.
She's an American, I think, she started as just more of like a sociologist, I think, just studying, or I forget her exact academic background, but more of a scientist studying these things. But she's become one of the foremost researchers and at least disseminating the information about shame and vulnerability and things like that. And so she talks about this idea of, being open and vulnerable, but also knowing where that line is, because you don't want to like just dump everything out all the time on everybody.
Yeah.
So from your perspective, how do you kind of find that balance? Like for example, for me, I think I've been kind of open about the fact that I'm an undiagnosed, but I believe I'm bipolar, but I struggle with like, where do I want to be open, I want to be vulnerable, but I also don't want to just like have that be everything and just have that kind of like a dump truck dumped out all the time. So where do you think that balance lies?
Well, it's interesting when you say you have that openness and vulnerability. But really, on stage as performers, we have that open vulnerability, but it's also combined with very much a strength. Just for getting up and going on stage, it takes an awful lot of strength. It is a weird juxtaposition. It kind of mirrors the emotional state that quite a lot of people might be going through.
That's a good point. Yeah. Because in one sense, I know Brene Brown mentions about how really vulnerability, we all view it as weakness, but it really is strength in the end, Yeah,
it's like the main thing I hear from people is that they say, oh, I don't have the confidence to get up and be on stage. People seem to want to do it, but they just don't feel body confident, or they don't feel personally confident. But I always say that, it isn't confidence. Confidence isn't what people are using to go on stage. It's self-assurance.
I saw a post that you had about that. That's interesting. Do you want to go into that a little bit more?
Yeah, well, I'm not a confident person. I'm very much not body confident. I've never really liked the way I look or any of those kind of things. But as I've gotten older, I've got a lot more self-assured in myself. I know that if I get on stage, I'm going to do a fairly good job, and but also with how I relate to other people as well. You need that self-assured mindset before you have conversations with others about performing or backstage, because if you are unsure of yourself, you're not really going to give the full self out there. I'm hoping that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's one of those interesting things, because I think some people might think of confidence and self-assurance as almost the same thing, but really you're right. I mean, you make some good points, and I think I can kind of see the difference. Do you want to go into that a little bit more, as far as what is really the difference between being self-assured and being confident?
Yeah, well, I get the feeling from a lot of people that for confidence, they think that they would look in the mirror and go, yeah, I'm looking damn fine, or liking their body, or, the various things that basically society has told them not to like. So women looking at their cellulite, or looking at circled pictures of cellulite in these horrible gossip magazines, and being told, look how gross that is, when 95% of women have it. It's that I always equate the confidence to feeling that you are happy with your body and you're happy with your looks, because that's the way that a lot of people have relayed it to me when they say, I wish I was more confident. They generally follow that up with, I need to lose weight, though. No, you don't. who
as like a
who said
qualifier
that?
almost. That's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't like that the mindset now is that burlesque is for fit bodies or petite bodies or people who are young or, because I do hear it a lot, people saying I'm too old now or I need to lose weight or I need to do this or I need to do that. Absolutely. It's like, no, you don't. You don't have to change any part of yourself except for accepting yourself as you are. So self-assurance, that's learning how to accept every bit of you and every single mark or flaw or piece of you that people aren't going to focus on. Because if you get up on stage and you're bringing your act to life, no one's going to be like, wow, she was great, but she did have a bit of cellulite, like 95% of
Absolutely.
So
would you say that like confidence would be kind of like, being happy with yourself, whereas self-assurance is accepting what you are and knowing what you have to offer, kind of?
Well, the self-acceptance and self-assurance, that would eventually lead to genuine confidence.
Gotcha. Instead of like something that you kind of are portraying and fake.
Thinking, yes, I've been at the gym for 3 years straight and got a boob job, and now I'm confident. Because we all know, like, we've seen those stories of people who have lost loads of weight or got loads of surgery, and they are never really happy at the end. If you're trying to chase an unachievable, unrealistic goal that has been not set for you by yourself but by society's standards, you're never going to feel confident. But if you learn to love yourself and be self-assured and know that you are an amazing person and you're going to be great on stage and people are going to love it, then that's a lot more important.
Do you think that self-assurance then is something that we can kind of learn and develop and adapt, whereas confidence is like something that like just kind of is a result of it, that we can't quite make? I can't make myself be more confident, but I can work on becoming more self-assured.
Yeah. Because a lot of people, they say they want to gain confidence or feel more confident. And it's like, well, you have to learn to love yourself first. You have to learn that you need to accept your looks and your body and your movements and your style and your vision. Because it's all part and parcel towards feeling like a more confident person, because you've attained it through hard work on the self, not hard work on the outer shell of your body that's going to change constantly anyway.
I love that. I really like that distinction, because like you said, we all talk about wanting to be more confident. I want to, have that. And where really maybe we're looking at the wrong thing and we're focusing on the wrong thing.
Yeah,
that's cool.
I think we are, because people are focusing on the things that have been drilled into us from a young age. If this is what you want to have, you want to be like this person, or you want to look like this person, when really we need to all learn how to accept ourselves for who we are and what we are and what we want to do, because there's been too much trying to box off people for far too long. And
I agree.
16, for fuck's sake,
Right. Have we not moved past this yet?
It's like, it just gets to the point of ridiculous sometimes, and I think we need to, as a society, not only just as a scene, but kind of look at the weird circus show that's going on within the mass media that's trying to tell us constantly that we don't want butts, or we do want butts, but they have to be like huge butts, or we can't. You cannot change your body to fit fashion. Yeah, you make fashion fit you. That's it. You're wearing a dress,
Seems like I feel that we're kind of making the first baby steps in that direction. I feel like the conversation is more than it was 10 years ago as far as differing standards of beauty and things like that. It's still not fixed, but it feels like we're kind of moving in the right way. Would you agree?
I would think so. I think that with social media and online celebrity, it's got to the point where the people are choosing who they want to see, who they want to make celebrity, rather than these sort of celebrities we're being told are celebrities. The people that are being thrust onto our TVs and into our magazines.
Kardashians. Excuse me. Sorry.
Sickness come back a little bit there. You had a little bit of a cough, I think. But
excuse me so much.
Yeah, it's fine. Don't worry. Yeah, it is basically the people that we're constantly being told we should emulate. Mm-hmm. And do people not realize that the people we're being told to emulate now are completely different than 5 years ago, than 10 years ago, 15 years ago? We need to learn to accept everyone and every look and every aesthetic.
Snaps to that, girl. Snaps to that. Absolutely. I agree 100%. And that's why I love something like, the areas like burlesque and body positivity. And I love that, I know that there are different campaigns, a few different ad campaigns here in the US that have been, focusing more on, general standards of beauty, not standards, but general beauty, of all different shapes and sizes and everything.
It has started to come a bit like that. But we have not because I live in Liverpool, but the mayor of London has banned adverts on tubes that cause sort of body shaming style adverts. So if you remember a few years ago, there was an advert put out in the London tube station saying, "Are you beach body ready?" With a picture of a very skinny girl in a bikini on there. And the mayor of London has banned any advertisements of this sort.
That's awesome.
Which is great, and I think it's something that needs to be spread about a bit. Like, it needs to become a more frequent thing that we're seeing non-photoshopped, non-tucked,
Absolutely.
We need to just see real people, because we are real people, and if they want to sell to real people, then show us some real people.
Amen. Yeah, because unfortunately, that is a lot of the money comes from the fact that any sort of making us feel inadequate, whether it's body or emotion or whatever. I mean, that's how you sell, is by making people feel like they're not good enough, right? And if you buy this thing, then you will be good enough.
Yeah.
And so that's been the general approach, but I don't believe that's the only approach to selling things.
No,
you know what I mean?
I think it's it's a big issue nowadays for a lot of women and also a lot of men. There's constantly that message out there that's telling us we're just not right yet. Yeah. No matter who you are and what you do, even those models on those billboards have been photoshopped. So even those models aren't right. If they're not right, what chance have we got?
Yeah, I always think about what that must be like as, a model or a quote beautiful actress, one of that standard definition. But and then you see you worked so hard for this magazine cover or this billboard or whatever, and then you see it come out and it's not you. Yeah. How must that feel? We always talk about for the rest of us that I'm not that, I'm not that either, but they're not that either. And I just imagine what it must be like for them to deal with that.
I've had one time where I was sat with a photographer while they were photoshopping my pictures. And they were smoothing out my skin and getting rid of pores and all of this kind of stuff. So it is weird, because I have a lot of my pictures have been photoshopped, but I did actually publish a while ago, I think it was on my Instagram account, it was a non-photoshopped and the photoshopped image next to each other, so people could see. Because I am quite a petite person. I'm like a UK 6, which I think it's a 2 in America, so I'm quite I still have plenty of curves and I've still got tits and an arse, but
sure.
There was a huge difference between the two. I had been made skinnier and given a tiny sort of Barbie waist. It's something that's quite common for everyone, especially people who are involved in the scene. I'm sure we've all had those Photoshop pictures put out there, and the weird thing is actually getting abuse from people for having Photoshop pictures. I did actually have people comment me a couple of times saying, "Well, I wish I could get my photos as photoshopped as yours." And it's like, well, you can. Just, it's a program. You can buy it.
Right. It's not that hard to hire somebody or whatever.
Really, if you're going to see me on stage, I have pores and I have cellulite, and I'm never going to try and hide that, because for a start, how can I, apart from a shitload of clothes pegs pinned up under my arse cheeks. I don't really know. But it is that strange aesthetic, because we're so used to seeing people photoshopped.
Mm-hmm.
And it's weird to see yourself not photoshopped.
Indeed. Well, and it's a good thing that we're still in the controversy corner here, because that is also another thing we could go on and on about, I'm sure, is like, because Photoshop has its purposes. And there are moments when I've gotten photos back from photographers and I'm like, man, I look good. And this, it's a great photo. And then I realize, wait a minute, I was not that skinny that day. Like that was, I was bloated or something, like where you realize the amount, because, a lot of times we don't even know. We get them back from photographers and we're not sure whether they've been Photoshopped or how much or anything like that. But so there's like a place for Photoshop, and we all like to have, these doctored images that look like something that could be in a magazine almost or wherever. But at the same time, it's not portraying the real us. So how can we use that as promotion? Like, it's hard.
Well, it's that weird thing that photoshopped images of yourself, it's a confidence boost and a confidence knock at the same time.
Yeah.
So you've seen those pictures and you're like, wow, I look great, or I look amazing, and people are going to tell me I look great, they're going to comment and they're going to like, and they're going to be like, that's hot, or whatever they want to say, but then you're like, that's not really what I look like.
Yes, exactly.
So it's that, you'll get that instant Facebook boost and that feeling. I don't know what that feeling would be. I mean, is there a word for the feeling of elevation you get from posting things on Facebook? Like,
there should be.
Should we make up a word for this? I don't know.
Yeah. Some social media high type thing.
I got my real face boost that day. And
face boost, I love it. Sold. It's good. I'm writing it down. Face boost.
It's on Twitter, you can call it Twatter.
I love it.
Yeah. I got really good Twatter feedback. And but then you are going to know at the back of your mind, this isn't how I look. This is, I have a bit of a little stomach there, or I know that there's like a scratch down there, or all those little things, because then it makes you kind of think, wow, I must not have been perfect, or I must not be as good as I could be, because there's a better version of me right there.
So once again, I guess it's just like finding that balance between presenting something that makes you proud, really, makes you feel good,
of course,
but also
you don't want to put pictures of yourself out where you think you look like shit.
It's the same reason I take 15 or 20 different Snapchat selfies before I actually put one, send one or put it on my story. Like, well done.
Yeah, we all do it. We all have that weird sense of wanting that internet vanity, that internet, what would the word be? I'm trying to, just that internet approval of Facebook likes and Instagram likes and retweets and all of those things, but really you don't get internet points. You can't redeem internet points for anything that's actually worthwhile.
It's true. I wish you could, but you really can't. So
if I've got 50 internet points, can I buy those shoes now?
There you go. Oh, that would be amazing.
Maybe that should be a new type of Instagram where you get money for likes. God knows what'll end up being posted on that thing.
That would just kind of feed this whole thing, wouldn't it? So, it's interesting. I mean, it's interesting, and that's why I like to kind of talk about these topics, because, and I love where our conversation kind of took us, because it's really, there's no right or wrong answer for these things. It's just kind of talking about them and getting that conversation started, at least, because the more we're talking about it, the more we can, hear different perspectives and think about what we're doing in our own lives. So before we move on to our last few sections here, I would love to know, when you are performing, when you're heading backstage, what is one thing that you always have in your burlesque backstage kit?
I have an absolutely ginormous makeup bag. I love makeup. Absolutely. I am a complete makeup addict. If you ever see my Instagram account, it's loads of makeup looks and makeup things that I bought. Like the other day I bought a NARS palette that was an Andy Warhol self-portrait in eyeshadow.
Oh, wow.
But just to have it, because I can't use
know that existed.
I know, neither did I until I found it. It's like, I'm having that. But it's like, I will never be able to use that because I will ruin poor Andy Warhol's face if I did. So that's just going to be a palette that's there for showing it at people and then putting it carefully back in the box. Like,
There you go.
kind of like those comic book collectors, but for makeup palettes. Keep it in its packet.
Don't open it.
Don't touch it. Don't use your fingers in there.
Right.
Yeah, so I generally have a lot of different bits and pieces of makeup, but generally not all of it just for myself. Like I tried to give tips on bits of makeup and such, like whenever I can. So I had a show a few months ago where there was a singer on, and she was amazing, and her stage name was Violet, and I had this purple eye glitter, like a loose glitter, and I said, right, use this stuff, pat that on it, it'll just really bring your eyes out. So she did it, and when I could see her on stage, I could see the glitter on her lids just bringing out her eyes, and it just made a huge impact. So in the end, I was like, keep the glitter. You need to keep doing that. And she sent me a photo not long after when she'd done it again. So, because I think I actually applied it for her as well. So now she's trying out a new look. So I'm a little bit too generous in that sense. Like I keep giving away my makeup.
No, but that's sweet though. Like we said, pass it on, you know.
Lipstick was $20. Take it.
Yeah. Right. Well, maybe your wallet doesn't love that as much, but I'm sure the people, the beneficiaries, do appreciate it.
I'm not so keen on that. I generally take this big makeup box with me, which I've covered in stickers from various shows, and I'm always looking for new stickers as well. So like other performers and other shows.
Oh, that's cool.
So that I can absolutely cover it. It looks like a bit of like a Clarissa Explains It All burlesque makeup carry case.
Oh, cool. That's really neat. That's really neat to have.
Yeah, plus there's always going to be that person who goes, oh no, I forgot my eyelashes, or does anyone have any glue? Does anyone have scissors? You know. So
it's true. I'm not going to lie. That's usually me. All right, so this next little section is called Pick Your Poison, and this is a chance for us to get to know you just kind of as a human being a little bit better, little quirky things. Okay. And I have 11 different questions. I'm not going to ask you all of them. What I'm going to have you do is just pick one of the 11. So any number 1 through 11.
Ooh, well, my lucky number is 4.
Mine too.
Awesome. Yeah, let's go with number 4.
All right, number 4. What do you typically order? What's your go-to order at either the bar or the coffee shop, depending on which one you go to more frequently?
Ooh, I like a Manhattan Perfect.
Ooh, very fancy, Millie.
I know. It's a very nice, very alcoholic drink. So
I love it.
It goes down really easy. So it took me a while to go, do I want it dry? No, I don't want it sweet. How do I want it? But Manhattan Perfect, spot on. Very
That's good. And that's one of those that like won't change. It shouldn't anyway change in different bars, right? Because some of them they'll do like even a Sex on the Beach, for example, or some other like foo-foo cocktails. They'll do a little bit different at different places, and then you never know. But that's a very classic.
Well, I like the Manhattan because it's very international as well. Because
absolutely,
I had very good Manhattans when I was up in Glasgow. The other. I did a good Manhattan.
Yeah, it's good. All right, and then our last little section is called This or That, and this is kind of our quick fire round where I'm going to give you 2 options, and you pick the one you prefer. And you can prefer that for whatever reason. You can really interpret these in any way you like. We'll just leave it at that. You can interpret them however you want.
All right.
Does that sound good?
Yeah, sure.
All right.
I say tentatively.
Yeah, she's like, I'm a little nervous about this. Don't worry, it's not that bad. All right. Now, I don't know if this one applies in the UK as much, but how about Starbucks or Dunkin' Donuts?
We now have Krispy Kreme. We don't have Dunkin' Donuts. Sadly,
okay.
But we now have Krispy Kremes.
So let's say Starbucks or Krispy Kreme.
Yeah, for me it's definitely Starbucks. Simply because I can't eat anything in Krispy Kreme, sadly.
Fair enough. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the whole vegan
donuts there, huh? Okay.
But,
there's that.
Yeah.
How about city or country?
Ooh, country.
Movies or TV shows?
TV shows, because you can't binge watch movies.
Amen, sister. I used to be a big movie fan, but now I've totally changed. Yeah, and they're good now. TV shows have become really good, like good quality.
I think it's a thing that maybe it's developed along with burlesque, because I know very much in the UK when we all started out many years ago. We didn't really do too much costume stuff because mainly we didn't know how and we didn't know what to do. We didn't know what was expected, I guess. So we kind of stitch on some fringing and go, yep, it's good. So you could do that in one film. Mm-hmm. Whereas nowadays I'll spend about 3 days rhinestoning one shoe.
Wow,
So having a Netflix account and just binge watching absolutely anything, we're starting to run out of things because I did a lot of costuming this year.
All right, now I think I know the answer to this next one, but we'll ask it anyway. Dita Von Teese or Dirty Martini?
Dirty Martini, all the way. She's such a genuine, lovely, warm person. And for someone that's done so well in this scene and done so much and lived so much, traveling around and meeting millions of performers, she's just absolutely amazing with everyone she meets. She's always smiling. She's always hugging. She's
very genuine.
Yeah, and that to me is what a burlesque star should be.
Amen. I agree.
I want my burlesque stars approachable and boob-squeezable.
Yes, please.
I don't want them like this separate entity, this sort of weird, detached celebrity type thing, I guess. It just doesn't feel like we're all part of the same scene if you get people that act that way. Everyone should take a leaf out of Dirty Martini's book. Definitely.
Agreed. Now, how about a dirty martini or a pint of beer?
Oh, I'd have to go with a dirty martini again. I'm not a beer drinker, unless it's a shandy. Really, it's very refreshing when it's hot. But a dirty martini will get you drunker. Both
there, absolutely. Depends on your priorities, I suppose. How about day or night?
Ooh, I think I'm a bit more of a night owl. I don't intend to be, but it just keeps happening.
So what about Harry Potter or Star Wars?
Oh, Star Wars. Absolutely, definitely Star Wars. I am actually working on something Star Wars related, which will be coming soon.
Oh, a little teaser there. I can't wait.
Yeah. I will tell you all about it when we're not recording.
Sounds like a plan. How about top or bottom?
In what context?
Any interpretation that you so choose. You could be talking about bunk beds. You could be talking about...
we all know what I'm talking about, and I'm definitely on top.
There you go. We all know. Let's be real. Yeah. What about mountains or ocean?
Mountains. I like a good hike, and I love a good abseil.
Classic or neo-burlesque?
Neo. Classic's very much got its place, but for me, absolutely. I think neo-burlesque is kind of anything from late 50s onwards, personally, because it was such a big thing for such a long time beforehand. Mm-hmm. So I think more of that bump and grind and really embracing the sexuality a lot more is neo to me than those skirt dances of old.
How about peanut butter or jelly?
Peanut butter.
Comedy or tragedy?
Oh, comedy. Who wants some tragedy? We've got enough of that shit going on.
How about Marvel or DC?
Oh, Marvel. After what DC did with Wonder Woman. Also, you can actually see me in a Marvel film if you look close enough.
Which one?
The first Captain America.
What?
Yeah.
When? Where? Why? What? Tell me details.
I was one of the tourists in the car chase scene.
I'm going to watch it frame by frame, and I'm going to find...
I stood next to the bus thing when they taxi, and the sound of blanks are fucking scary. So I haven't seen it, I haven't spotted myself personally, but others have told me they did. I don't know if they're just lying to try and make me feel better, but I don't.
All right, and how about sleep or sex?
Oh, my husband's going to hate me, but definitely sleep.
There's something about a good night's sleep.
You cannot beat it. And with the amount of work that I seem to have been doing the past year, any sleep I can get.
Take advantage of it.
Yeah.
And lastly, how about heels or bare feet?
Oh, see, I'm going to go be awkward and go with both.
Both?
Yeah, because I wear heels on stage, but then once I take them off, that's when the real action starts.
Oh, I like it. I like the answer to that one. All right, well, before we go ahead and wrap this up, I would love to know, I always say this, the internet is a vast place. There's a lot of different things going on. How do you typically stay current on the world of burlesque and what's going on and all of that?
I'm not brilliant at staying current, it would seem. I have a lot of people going, oh, have you heard of this person or met this person? I'm like, no, I'm so sorry. There's a lot of it now to keep up to date with. But it is great to be able to see updates from people all over the world and see what people are doing in so many different places. But there's also, I know this doesn't really overly relate to the question, but I feel it's something that's worth saying, because I know a lot of people, when they scroll through Facebook, or they'll see various updates, and they'll feel bad because they're not doing that, or they're wondering, like, why aren't I booked for that, or that kind of thing. And I just think that we really now, as a scene and as a community, if we see someone doing something amazing, we be like, good for them.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's great for them. They've got their thing going on, and people need to concentrate on their own thing, because maybe they'll be swapping situations where they'll see your status update and be like, oh, I wish I was doing that. So we just need to learn how to, as a scene, use Facebook to be like, yeah, you go. You're amazing. You deserve this, rather than using it to create or cause drama.
I agree. I mean, it's that whole double-edged sword of social media, right? Where it's like, I mean, it allows you to keep in touch and get to know people that you wouldn't normally. I mean, I never would be like talking to you if it weren't for Facebook.
I met so many people through it that I've then met in person and such. But it's that Facebook envy. I think. Yeah. As a scene, we need to learn how to go, right, this is a thing, definitely happens. Let's all accept that this happens, and it's just a psychological thing that not any people can really control. But if your first thought is, that, how are they doing this, blah, 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 and your second thought is to think, well, they don't deserve it, I do, that's quite a crap way of looking at things. Like, really, if your first thought is, oh, I wish I was doing that, your follow-up thought should be, good on them. That looks amazing. I bet they're having a great time.
Definitely. Agreed with that, 100%. So what about on YouTube? I'd love to hear from you 2 different videos, if you know them, any off the top of your head. One of yours, if you have them up on YouTube or Vimeo or wherever you have them. And then one also that maybe it's of someone you know, maybe it's of something totally not burlesque related, but that you've been watching lately that you can't get enough of, or that you thought was really great or funny or inspiring or anything like that.
Yeah, well, one of my absolute favorite YouTube videos to get up, and I probably get it up all the time because I absolutely love this act, but Nasty Canasta with her car alarm fan dance. It's just so innovative, it's so well done, and it's just, I really want to see it live one day.
It's amazing.
It's just absolutely brilliant, a really good way of thinking about burlesque in an entirely new perspective and from a new angle that you wouldn't expect, but it has such a brilliant end result.
Oh, sweet. I'll have to check that out.
Yeah.
And do you have videos of yourself up as well? Any of your
do, but I don't like watching videos of myself.
Oh, but I'm sure we would love to see something.
I mean, yeah. I have a little teaser of my Catwoman act on there, which was filmed at one of my own shows. And the lighting guy, because we've known each other for years and worked together for years, he managed to get the lighting to flash as the whips cracked.
Oh, that's amazing.
It looks really cool. It's only a very short video of the very beginning, so
that's perfect.
You can't see much in the way of flesh, but
that's okay.
It's a good idea of what it is that act is about, and it has been approved by Julie Newmar herself.
Nice. So, wow, that's impressive.
I sent her a video, and she was like, yeah, she likes it. So yeah, I'd say check that one out and maybe see it live one day.
Yes, I hope to do that anyway. So for everybody listening, you'll be able to check out these videos as well as everything else that we mentioned in this episode over at the homepage for Millie's episodes, which will be at burlesquestripdown.com/Millie, MILLIE. And you'll be able to get in touch with Millie should you want to know more or keep up with her or find her on Facebook and Instagram and all of that. Millie, what is the best way to get in touch with you and kind of learn about what it is that you do?
The best way would probably be, as you said, my Instagram, because I seem to post to there more than anywhere else, mainly because I'm quite visual person or mainly because I'm a vain twat. But either there or...
We love Instagram.
I love Instagram. Either there or on my Facebook page, and also on the Big Brother, Big Sister group you mentioned before, because I'm generally trying to give advice on there as often as I can, which does mean a lot of people message me now for advice too, which I'm always happy to give if I can.
Fabulous. And do you have a general website as well?
Yep, my website is milliedollar.co.uk.
Fabulous. I'll put all of those links over in that show notes page. It'll be, again, burlesquestripdown.com/Millie, MILLIE. All right. Well, I think that about wraps up our interview portion. Did you have anything else that you kind of wanted to share with the audience?
Well, I just want to share, as I always try to share quite often online and in person, is to share my love for the scene and everyone in it, because you're all stunning, amazing, fabulous people.
Oh, well, we love you too, Millie.
Oh, so sweet.
Well, it's important to remember, because there have been times, I know even in the Facebook group that we were talking about, there are times when things get a little heated, shall we say, or, there's a little bit of controversy and all of that. But it's important to remember that we're all in this together, and we're all, supposed to be a family.
Yeah,
so
we're definitely a family, and I'm constantly telling my sort of chosen burlesque family how much I love them all the time, and they're probably sick of it, like, oh my god, Millie's telling me she loves me again. But
I love you, man.
Yeah, spread the love, not the hate.
Spread that love, get it around. I love it. Actually, I remember, I think it was you, correct me if I'm wrong, that posted at one point in the Facebook group, more snatch, less snark. Was that you?
Yeah, that was me.
That's one of my favorite lines in the history of everything. I love it. I love it.
That was me. I think that was another, but I'm trying to remember. It's like more grind, less something like more grind, less grime. I don't know, but
actually just posted yesterday on my Instagram something. It was less bitter, more glitter, which I liked that. That's a good one. But I love the snatch and snark one. That's good. Yeah. Congratulations on that. That's my new life motto. All right. Well, once again, everybody listening, definitely check us out later this week, where we'll be posting a little hot tip and giving you some tips that Millie has to share. I know she has a lot to share from over 10 years of performing. So definitely check back in then. Otherwise, like I said, last week we had the amazing Holly Rebel was on. So if you missed those episodes, go back and check that out. And Millie, I was amazing to get to know you. Thank you so much for coming on the interview today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
And there you have it. Really some great concepts, some great talk that we had. I love her discussion of the idea of confidence versus self-assurance. That was really, really amazing. One of my favorite things that she said was talking about how, our celebrities should be approachable and boob-squeezable. Isn't that I think that's such a perfect, not that we would ever, go over, as far as consent, I would never just walk up to someone and squeeze their boob. But if I ask them, it's nice when they're boob squeezable. So that was a great thing. If you liked Millie and you want to find out more, just head on over to burlesquestripdown.com/Millie, MILLIE. There you'll find the links to all of the things that we've talked about today, including, of course, her Facebook and website and all of that good stuff, so that you can become a fangirl just like me. But I have a feeling that she is also one of those approachable and boob squeezable people that we can fangirl over as well. So when we finally do meet in person, it's going to be a good time. As I mentioned, she's coming back with us on Thursday to have a really deep dive, in-depth discussion of mental health and what it means to be a performer and to still be dealing with some of these issues. She has some good advice for that, as well as, like I said, just kind of starting the conversation and keeping that going. So definitely tune in later this week. In the meantime, if you are wanting some more Burlesque Stripped Down, which of course you are, some more Velvet Eau Claire in your life, there's never quite enough. You can head back to last week's episode where I talked to Miss Holly Rebel, and we got into some really great things. And of course, before that, there was a highlights episode from Ruby Jones, as well as my July favorites. And before that was Red Hot Annie. So you've got we're on episode number 41 right now. You've got a huge backlog of things to get caught up with. So definitely head back into those archives to hear all of the amazing, amazing women and men that I have had on this show. In the meantime, ladies and gentlemen, I, as always, so appreciate your listening ears, your connection, all of those. Please don't hesitate to connect with me via email, velvet@burlesquestripdown.com, website, burlesquestripdown.com. You can, of course, leave a voicemail there. Facebook is Burlesque Stripped Down. Instagram is Velvet Eau Claire. Twitter is Velvet Eau Claire. I think that covers most of them at the moment that I've actually been active in. So don't hesitate to get in touch with me. I love to hear from you. Ladies and gentlemen, until next time, I hope that you stay sexy.